so that they continue to grow. In their different sports. As it stands for me, it was really really an impressive performance from the athletes.
Para Games coming to an end in about this week here in Nigeria, and Team Nigeria para athletes coming first with a distant 59 gold medal as compared to just 4 gold medal that the second place country in West Africa got. Talking about the Benin Republic, they came second with 4 gold medal, 4 silver, and 14 bronze medal. Ghana came third with just 3 gold medal, 15 silver, and 21 bronze medals. What a gulf of difference between Nigeria and the second place Benin Republic and third place Ghana. Kingsley, would you have thought that 59 as compared to 4 gold medal, that is a 55 gold medal difference between Nigeria and second place Benin Republic?
I didn't really see that coming. That dream is so wide, so wide. I tell you, I'd have to tell you that Nigerian power athletes dominated everything. Yes, they grabbed more of the gold medals. That's why, of course, they came top. At the end. If you take a look at it, Benin Republic, Ghana, I think we had some high number of silver and bronze. Really don't actually take it top of the table, and that's what, of course, the Nigerian power athletes need to capitalize on. And at the end of the day, they grab a lot of gold medals. The margin was too wide, and probably it actually shows the high level of performance and brilliance of Nigerian power athletes in their different sports. Was of course a very impressive. But like I mentioned, they dominated all the sports, and of course they were just aiming at the gold medal, and that's what we saw that high level of margin between them and Benin Republic.
It was a Pan-African, Pan-West African Games. Yes, that's what it's called, Pan-West African Games. And when you talk about sports in West Africa, Cote d'Ivoire is one name that should not be distant to call. But at the Para Games in Abeokuta, in the course of the week, we saw Cote d'Ivoire come fourth. Are you surprised that Cote d'Ivoire para athletes didn't do well as they came a distant fifth on the medals haul?
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised. I'm a bit surprised because when you talk about Cote d'Ivoire, they always show strength in our vigilance when it has to do with the para games. But this time around, in coming fifth, same countries like Benin Republic, coming second,
Ghana
as well, also showed that. It's really, of course, you see a little bit of surprising outboard, but I don't really know what happened. I thought possibly they might be, I would have as well, maybe toe to toe with Team Nigeria, but that, of course, didn't come to reality at the end of the day. So you can see that there was a little bit of drop in terms of performance, for Cote d'Ivoire. But I think maybe they've learned possibly that they've learned lessons from their performance and possibly bounce back, going forward.
Para athletes from Nigeria know that deserves a lot of support and motivation and recognition as well. In the history of sports in Nigeria, in all of the over 60 years now, we've always seen the para athletes win medals both at local, international, and local intercontinental competitions as well. They've won more medals, to be specific, than the able-bodied athletes. And but if in terms of reward, they've not had commensurate reward, in my opinion, as compared to their able-bodied athletes. This is the time for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to show that yes, these para athletes deserve all the recognition they have gotten across West Africa and the rest of the world as well. Just before we get to our main discourse for this weekend, which is the FIFA World Cup draws for next year's World Cup coming up in Mexico, Canada, and the United States of America, we'll just get you one more story before that, and it has to do with boxing. Anthony Joshua is back to the ring, but this time around, he has an opponent that a lot of people believe that he should not be fighting. But when you look at the money involved, Anthony Joshua is already in the ring waiting for Jake Paul to appear in this bout that is coming up on the 19th of December out there. Mike, I'm sorry, Kingsley, this is getting very, let's say, controversial. A lot of people believe that yes, there's over 100 million, pounds involved in this one, but Anthony Joshua should be looking for a better opponent and not Joshua Jake. Kingsley?
Yeah, can you take that again? I didn't hear you.
I said there is an unusual opening for Anthony Joshua coming up on the 19th of December. There's a boxing bout. A lot of people believe that haven't been 2 times world heavyweight champion. Yes, he lost consecutively, and he wants to relaunch back his career. He should be fighting, renowned opponents, not a certain Paul Jake, who is 28 years of age and has never been into the conventional boxing.
Yeah, definitely. That's the opinion of so many. And for me, I think that should be one Joshua. It should go for somebody, that is of his level, still on the heavyweight. But this time it's going for somebody I think is a cruiserweight, position. Talking about, the 4 at this point in time. Take a look at it. I just feel maybe Joshua want to look for a soft landing, looking at the fact that he's been away from the game for some time. All right, so coming back after having, a disastrous outing last time, he just want to maybe see how to flex his muscle once again, maybe on someone he thinks he can possibly challenge, and that's why possibly that bout of course has been fixed, against before. I know some persons are of the opinion that Joshua, that's not the kind of opponent you're supposed to take. But for me, I think man is just trying to find his footing back, after stepping away, from the game. And the money involved too is another, interesting factor. I think that's the thing attracting Anthony Joshua really, this about 100 million euros is actually a huge one. Huge money at stake, in this one. So apart from the side talk or whatever people are saying, I think the money is really an attractive factor for Joshua. And looking at the fact that he really wants to relaunch himself back, and I think that's also the reason why he has decided to go against Jake Paul. Joshua is really building. If you look at his physique, you know that the man has really trained, has really prepared himself. So yes, you might say Jake Paul not the kind of opponent for Anthony Joshua, but I think for me, he just to relaunch himself after not having a very, very good time, in his last bout. So we'll just look forward to see what comes up, for Anthony Joshua. Looking at it, possibly this might be his last lap. I understand. If you take a look at his body language, he's gearing towards retirement. And I think he really wants to finish on the high. And that's why, of course, he's trying to see how to relaunch himself back gradually to the boxing world.
Talking about Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul coming up on the 19th of December, $100 million at stake. And Kingsley, do you have an idea of the ratio of this $100 million why it is attractive to Anthony Joshua of the British Nigerian nationality?
Yeah, if you take a look at it, I think we'll actually tend to know more about the sports splits, as the day progresses. To understand, we have about almost 2 weeks, to that particular bout. So as the day progresses, we know the sports split for that one. But definitely, Anthony Joshua is going home with a huge amount of money. Yes, that's the thing, because he's the man everybody wants to watch. All right, people want to pay to want to see Anthony Joshua, of course, fight. So if you take a look at it, he has more bragging rights when it has to do, of course, with the money at stake, with this particular one. The money is really the attractive factor for Joshua, this particular one. So he's going to be going home with a lot of money, at the end of the day. And looking at Bob, I think he has more, advantage. If you take a look at, of course, his weight, I think the camp of before were actually complaining of his weight. He weighed up, I think, 111 kg. Then, of course, who actually weighed, I think, 103 in his last bout. So this one is more fit. All right, a boxer, of course, having more weight, it means has more energy and more punching strength and all of that. So if you take a look at it, possibly we might not see this bout getting up to maybe the 5th round. Maybe everyone is expecting this round to maybe in the first, second, or third round knock out the man. So if you take a look at it, this one has more of the bragging rights to this one. So more money will actually go down to Anthony Joshua at the end of the day.
Don't be surprised, Kingsley, that it is a 50-50 pause, and if you are knocked out even in the first minute of the bout, you take 50 million. That's a lot of money. That's why it's very attractive to Jake Paul. And of course, like you were saying, for Anthony Joshua as well, because he looks like a man who will not be lasting too long anymore in the at the boxing ring. He's looking at retirement any moment soon as well. So they need a lot of fat bank balance to live on after the sports. But this one, a lot of money is at stake. Incidentally, from what we are hearing, if it's anything to go by, it's a 50-50 report, so it's very attractive for the both boxers. For Jake Paul, he's not a conventional boxer, so if he gets into a ring and is knocked out in the very first minute, he will just think of how much money has entered into his bank account rather than the blue or the glamour of boxing. Well, enough of that. Now, Kesley, let's stay away from that and get to our main discourse for this weekend. And this weekend, attention of sports followers around the world is on Donald Trump and, of course, the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino, at the draws of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. 48 teams, of course, will be at the World Cup for the very first time in the history of football, FIFA World Cup, that will have as many as 48 teams. These teams have been, divided into 12 groups. It's no longer secret that Africa is represented by 9 teams, top teams from Africa. A possibility of a 10th team from Africa could be if the Congo DR side beat their opponents at the Intercontinental Playoff. But just before then, draws have been made. 12 groups with 4 teams each. Of these 12 groups for the FIFA World Cup, we know that the attention of the African teams are getting better. Kingsley, before we get into group by group, give me your general impression about the draws that got underway in the last 48 hours.
I think for me, if you look at it, really tough, especially for some of the nations that just trading the likes of how, of course, Haiti, they've been there for a very long time. They're also been playing a very tough one. And as well, some of the African teams as well, the likes of Ghana, Cape Verde, in actually being played in a very tight group. So if we take a look at it, it's really going to be an impressive one. And we're going to see a repeat of what happened in 2010, where the likes of South Africa, of course, will actually, kick off tournaments against, Mexico this time around. They're also being paired in the same group. So we're going to see that picture repeat itself in the 2026 World Cup. So if we take a look at it overall, really, really an impressive draw. And this game promises to be very, very exciting. And if you take a look at it, we're also expecting, shockers as well. Because at this point, we can also take the likes of Curacao, Haiti, and the rest of these other countries that just came in. We can't take them for granted. They are also in for shockers as well. So, really an impressive draw, and it promises to be very, very exciting and competitive.
Very exciting and competitive World Cup coming up in Canada, Mexico, and the United States of America in the next 6 months or so, because the competition actually gets underway in June next year across these 3 countries. But looking at the 12 groups of the World Cup, let's bring it down to Group A now. Group A, first group, Mexico, South Korea, South Africa, and of course the 4th team from that group will emerge from the playoff Group D at the FIFA World Cup. What do you make of it? South Korea, Mexico, they have history at the World Cup, not forgetting South Africa as well. All of these 3 teams have been to the FIFA World Cup before.
Yeah, they've been in the FIFA World Cup before. We talk about South Korea, Mexico, South Africa. Like I told you, we're going to be seeing that 2010 World Cup kickoff repeat itself again this time around, where we see South Africa, of course, opening the tournament, against Mexico. So it promises to be another exciting one. But I feel that, of course, South Africa will be coming up, in that particular planet. But you can take away the likes of Korea and also Mexico. They are coming up, of course, with a very, very, impressive, challenge this time around. But I'm just looking at South Africa, can they survive without looking at the fact that it's been a long time since 2010. And they've not, of course, taken appearance, of course, at the World Cup. This is another opportunity for them, after more than a decade, they're making their tourist game, and they stand their ground. Then what, of course, the World Cup, comes with a lot of pressure, and all of that. But let's just see from what they did, of course, in the qualifiers. I believe, of course, they can maybe put up a very impressive challenge against the likes of Korea and Mexico this time around.
A potential winner of qualifier in that group could be Republic of Ireland representing Europe from the intercontinental playoff. If Republic of Ireland joins that group, how competitive will it be?
Very, very competitive. Very, very competitive. I think the competition will be more of, Mexico and as well the likes of South Africa still in the mix on that competition. I'm not also writing on the likes of South Korea. They can also, put up an impressive performance. But I think we'll see the likes of Mexico, trying to come top, in that particular group. Even South Africa as well. Republic of Ireland, I'm not really seeing them having that, much of a challenge in that group. But one thing in football is that you never can write out or write down anything. Anything can happen. That's why I said in this World Cup, we should expect to see shockers. So some of these things that we don't even rate might even come up, at the end of the day. But when you take a look at that group, I think the competition will be more between South Africa, Mexico, probably, South Korea.
Let's look at Group B. In Group B, we have 3 teams as well noted, and there could be a potential qualifier from the playoff as well. But in Group B, there is Canada, the first team in that group, one of the host nations, Switzerland, Qatar. Remember Qatar at the last World Cup, and there could be a potential qualifier, either the Wales or the Northern Ireland.
On a very high level, and we see massive progress, down there. The likes of Switzerland, yes, they're in for challenge. They've been at the World Cup on several occasions. Canada as well. There are also another team, of course, we should look at. So it's going to be an intense one. I like the team in that group. I can't actually predict, who significantly comes up because the 3 countries already in that one are already very, very much, complex. Like I mentioned, so many persons might want to write that out, but I think they have a lot of possible to offer in that particular group.
Let's look at Group C, where there is the favorite, of course, always favorite at any FIFA World Cup, Brazil. There is Morocco, Africa's best team that went as far as to the semi-final last time around at the FIFA World Cup. There's Scotland and there is Haiti. A lot of people believe that Haiti will be a walkover in that group. But like you alluded, there's no easy team in football. But Morocco, with the kind of effort they've put in over the years, coming up in the same group with Brazil, Scotland, and Haiti, it looks like a lot of people have already said, oh, yes, Brazil and Scotland will qualify from this group. But it doesn't come easy. The Scottish and the Haitians have ideas as well. They qualified after 4 years.
Yes, if that group is really going to be a tough one, having Brazil, Morocco, Scotland, and Haiti, it's really going to be a very tough one. Brazil, of course, they always make an appearance in the World Cup. And now they have a very, very smart and intelligent manager, talking about the person of Ancelotti. So it's going to be a very impressive one for Brazil. Look at the fact that they also have impressive stars in this game, the likes of Esteban Williams, we talk about Mr. Junior, and the rest of the players, of course, they have. So Brazil will be coming all out. For Morocco, I don't know how that's going to be. Last time, they went all the way to the semi-final of the World Cup. But taking a look at that group, it might be a tough one for them. Then you still have Scotland. So for Haiti, I'm not really sure of them, having a chance in that particular group. Yes, if I want to give them that opportunity of seeing they can maybe pull up the train or whatever, but it's going to be tough having Brazil, Morocco, and Scotland, and it's really going to be tough, for Haiti. So for Morocco, I don't know how they want to do it this time, but maybe we can just see what happened last time. Of course, we talk about the last World Cup, so we're able to pick out 4 countries. We talk about the likes of Portugal, some of these top countries. They were able to take them out to get down to the semi-final of the World Cup. So I think they still have a chance. We shouldn't just maybe looking at the fact that we have Brazil and Scotland and then maybe right off Morocco. I think from what they've done right from the qualifiers, Morocco can still pull a string against the likes of against
That should be fine. When we do get him back, we'll bring it up. But that is a very tricky group, Group C at the FIFA World Cup. Ever present Brazil at every World Cup. Football playing nation, at least for now. Morocco, or do I say emerging football playing nation, Morocco. In terms of the World Cup, Morocco is the #1 football playing nation because they have been as far as to the semi-final, only last turnout at the FIFA World Cup. So now let's look at Group D. Group D, one of the host nations is the first team in that group, the United States of America. There is Australia in Group D, Paraguay as well. Then there could be a 4th team coming from European playoff Group C as well. Kinsley, are you back? Back in a short while, but that looks a very tricky group, a Group D, where you have Paraguay, as well. African side, Cote d'Ivoire, making it a bit tough in that group where there is former World Cup champions Germany, Ecuador, and Curacao. It looks like a lot of people say it could be Germany qualifying in that group and maybe Ecuador, but then the African teams have a way of surprising their opponents at the World Cup, and so Cote d'Ivoire is in the mix in that group as well. We'll take a break at this point. When we return from the break, we'll bring you Group F down to the 12th group at the FIFA World Cup coming up next year in Canada, Mexico, and in the United States of America. And hopefully, Kinsley will be back to joining us, look at the other groups remaining at the FIFA World Cup. Stay with us. Come back and we're looking at the 12 groups of the FIFA World Cup coming up next year. We told you United States of America, Canada, and Mexico will host the 48 teams for the first time for the 8 countries that have qualified for the FIFA World Cup. We've taken a review of Group A to Group E. Now let's look at Group F. Kingsley is with me together and we'll bring you with it. The Netherlands, Japan, Tunisia, and of course one more qualifier that will be coming in from the UEFA playoff will join them in that group. Netherlands, Japan, and Tunisia. These are traditional World Cup teams. Kingsley, the Netherlands do not have the fear factor they used to have before, and Japan right now is looking like an emerging team in the Asian continent. For Tunisia, they blow hot and they blow cold, but this is the FIFA World Cup. Anything could happen.
Yes, of course, anything could happen. I think last time they tried, I don't think they went up to the quarter-final. I think they went up to the quarter-final stage, last time, of course, in Qatar, talking about Netherlands. They no longer have those, strikers that have been used to be afraid of, at this time. They now have new set of players, and of course, but I think they're just trying to build another squad, of course, going forward at this point in time. Though, yes, of course, like you mentioned, they're a traditional side in the World Cup. They've been in the World Cup on several occasions. They know what it means to be at the World Cup, but they don't really have that fear factor anymore. Those players that normally make things happen are not really there. So if you take a look at it, Netherlands are just trying, of course, to build up, another strong squad at this point in time. But just like you mentioned, we can't take them off, of course, in that group. And take a look at the group. I think they stand a chance, all right? Japan are also another strong side. Take a look at what they did last time in Qatar. They had a very, very impressive, of course, outing. I think they went all the way to the quarterfinals of the World Cup down there in Qatar. So I think if you look at it, the bragging rights would be more of, would be for the likes of Netherlands and maybe Japan in that group. I'm not writing Tunisia off. They can also put a very impressive performance. If you take a look at the performance so far from Tunisia, I think they've also been fantastic. The World Cup qualifiers, even the AFCON qualifiers as well. Tunisia, they've been very, very good this end. So I think they still stand a chance, but can they, of course, withstand their own when they, of course, confront the likes of Netherlands, and Japan and the other team, of course, that would possibly, of course, make that group, at the end of the day. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed. But I'm really going for the likes of Netherlands and Japan to qualify from that one.
Quickly, we'll look at Group G, where Belgium, Iran, Egypt, and New Zealand are playing. It looks like a relatively easy to predict group. Can you do your prediction from this group? Will it be Egypt and Belgium in the order which is shown on the screen, the first and the second place team, with Iran and New Zealand just making up numbers?
It looked like that, Mr. Suri. If you take a look at it, it actually, will play down to Belgium and Egypt. But Belgium, they are not that golden generation again. We've lost that.
H. In Group H, there is Spain in that group. There is Spain, there is Cape Verde, and Saudi Arabia, not forgetting what is the fourth group now, Uruguay in that group. Uruguay, the very first country to win the FIFA World Cup, and Spain. But can Africa upset the dynamics in that group with Cape Verde and the Saudi Arabia as well? Haven't used their experience of hosting the World Cup to see whether they can qualify for the next group and next stage of the competition.
Yeah, let us see how it goes, of course, in that group. Really, really an interesting group where we have Spain, we have the likes of course, Uruguay. If you want to look at it ordinarily, you want to, if you give Uruguay and Spain, they go ahead in that group. But I'm so particular about, Cape Verde. Can they continue their impressive run, in that group? I think that would be a very tall mountain for them because taking a look at the fact that I think this is the first time yes they're heading down to the World Cup. It might not be that huge. They don't really have that, of course, experience. So, being paired, of course, with the likes of Spain, Uruguay, and Saudi Arabia, I think that would be, of course, a very huge task. You can also take away Saudi Arabia. Remember what they did last time, of course, at the World Cup. Where they beat, of course, Argentina, almighty Argentina at the end of the day. So, and if you take a look at it, football is gradually gaining momentum in Saudi Arabia. So, they can't write them off. But I'm so concerned about Cape Verde. Can they challenge the likes of Spain, the likes of Uruguay, and Saudi Arabia? I think it's really, really going to be a tough one. Yes, football has grown in Cape Verde, but where they are now, I don't really think they can survive in that group.
Meanwhile, we have Senegal, France, and Norway. We want other team qualifying from that group from the FIFA playoff. France and Senegal. A lot of people believe that all the Senegalese players make the French league tick. And now, for the first time, both of them will be meeting themselves, either as brothers or cousins or whatever. Is it that group? Are you writing off Norway and the potential qualifier from the FIFA playoff?
I can't write off Norway. Norway is fantastic, of course, they are qualifiers. In fact, they have, will I say, the best striker in the world now in the person of Cambridge, Alan, who has scored, of course, been putting them, down to this very stage of the, of vision way at this point in time. For Senegal, I think they do stand a chance. Senegal, they've shown strength, of course, this time. I think there was a certain game where they actually beat England and put up a very impressive performance, for themselves. So Senegal, another team, of course, we should look at for this point in time. But can they make it in the group where we have Norway and the likes of France? We'll just keep our fingers crossed and see what comes in this national team. But I think they've always been showing strength. It's possibly going to be a tricky group, possibly going to be a tricky group. So I will just keep my fingers crossed and see how the games, of course, unfold.
Meanwhile, in Group J, we have Argentina, former World Cup champions, defending champions, Austria, sorry, and not forgetting Algeria, the African representative in that group, then Jordan. Can you make a guess that will be without Algeria, the Desert Foxes of Algeria?
Yeah, for me, Algeria, I think they could possibly, put up a very impressive challenge. Looking at the fact that they playing against the likes of Sudan. You talk about Austria. Austria could be another challenging side, of course, for them down there. But if they can make skate through Austria, I think possibly they could stand a chance. For Jordan, I don't think Jordan will give them a very tough time. All right, but you take a look at it, you already know, and then Argentina, the favorites, of course, in that group. They stand a very good chance when you take a look at their impressive record, over time, and as well as the quality of players, of course, they have. So Argentina stand a very good plan in that one. And another thing I think could also skate through is Algeria, from Africa. I think they stand chance ahead of the likes of Austria, which might possibly give them a little bit of a tough time. But for Jordan, I don't really think they stand a chance. So I'm really going for Argentina and Algeria in that one.
Okay, in Group K, there is Portugal, Colombia, Uzbekistan in that group as well. No doubt, a lot of people have the other group, Group K, where there is Portugal, Uzbekistan, and Colombia. Portugal, yes, favorite Cristiano Ronaldo in that group and playing his last World Cup and, of course, the last games for his country, Portugal. Who can join Portugal to qualify from that group?
Colombia. I think Colombia, of course, stand a chance. Uzbekistan, I don't think they have what it takes, to put up a very huge challenge, in that particular group. Really going to be tough, of course, for Uzbekistan. But I think Colombia, when you take a look at their impressive performance, in the Copa America, you definitely, of course, want to give them a chance to go toe to toe with anybody they come across, of course, in that group. I see them, stand a chance as well, to go through in that one. Portugal, yes, they've been fantastic, but when you take a look at it, they've always been late, late, all right, to progress or to win a game, all right, despite the fact that, yes, they have some brilliant players, like Rafael Leao, we talk about the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo. I think they have to try most they can to get their finishing touches right because even against smaller teams, you still see them struggle. So they have to be very, very careful in that group. But when you take a look at a team that might stand a huge chance of qualifying for me, I think it's Colombia, and as well, Portugal also stand a chance as well.
We're quickly running out of time, but let's review the last group, Group 12, or the Group L, in that World Cup order for the 8 teams going to the World Cup. England, first winners in 1966, up against Croatia and Ghana, not forgetting Panama in that group. England, Croatia, a lot of people say, but can Ghana, the stars from the Black Stars from Ghana, can they upset either Croatia or England?
I don't think so. I don't think, especially not really struggling a Ghanaian side. All right, they've been struggling of this, and yes, they've gotten a bit of an impressive performance, especially when you take a look at the what the qualifiers in the protest was a bit, of course, impressive for them. But I think they've been struggling of late. They still have some of those old legs, but they're not really putting up, of course, their best. The Black Stars of Ghana are just trying, of course, to put the team in a very good shape at this point in time. Not like the team we saw during the days of Asamoah Gyan, and the rest of them. I think they're just trying to rejuvenate the team to hit back. So it's going to be difficult. England, Croatia, I think they stand a very good chance. I don't see Ghana beating Croatia. I don't also see Ghana beating England, in that group.
Okay, for the 8 teams now been divided into 12 groups, 4 teams each, and bearing the qualifiers coming up in March next year, all the groups and participants will be known. For now, we have just them mapped out. So if you just win your qualifier at the Intercontinental Playoff, you enter into the group wherein you have been specified. So for the 8 teams, for the first time, we'll be competing for the FIFA World Cup, and it will be taking place in 3 countries for the first time: Mexico, Canada, and the United States of America. That will be it. But first, before we have to wrap up the show quickly, Kingsley, short answers to these questions. First, across Europe, league is at the bend, what they call bend corner of the league. Yes, you do well now and you stay top, or you could as well slide down. Arsenal's 18 unbeaten match record has been halted by Aston Villa. Aston Villa last year, one of the teams that stopped Arsenal from winning the league. The other teams have been won by Arsenal, but they found it difficult last night. With the last kick, we saw Emiliano Buendia score for Aston Villa.
It was a very, very disappointing one. Very, very disappointing one, Mr. Siri. I thought Arsenal would have tried the most they can, of course, maybe to hold that one and maybe get the points back home. But I take a look at it. The defense, Arsenal defense, of course, has been one of the best this season. But in the absence of the likes of, Gabriel Magalhaes, and that Arsenal defense, of course, have been having issues. Looking at the fact that Gabriel Magalhaes and Saliba, of course, were injured, take a look at the fact that the defense has now been a little bit, of course, shaky. So I think possibly that defeat for Arsenal could be also attributed, to the absence of their key defender, because they look a little bit shaky in that particular encounter in defense, and they were not, forcing the attack, very much in that encounter. Aston Villa, yes, they've been very fantastic. If you look at the fact that they don't gradually push. They're a very stubborn side, especially when they meet Arsenal. And I also expected Mikel Arteta should be very, very careful in that encounter. Though they did their best, but I think that those injury worries, especially for Gabriel Magalhaes and Saliba in defense, was really, really what, of course, brought that setback for Arsenal Football Club. But they are still top of the Premier League table. I just hope that they maintain high level of consistency going forward because it's really, really going to be, of course, intense at this point in time. I just hope that what happened to them last 3 seasons will not repeat itself because when they start losing like this, you start seeing them dropping point and title hope will just be dashed. So I just hope that they try and most they can to rejuvenate themselves and see how to continue fighting for the title.
Arsenal's second loss in the course of the season, and we hope they can negotiate the bend very well leading up to the title. We have to wrap up the program now for this weekend. We looked at for the 8 teams going to the FIFA World Cup, how they've been divided into 12 groups. But because of time, we cannot bring you some more stories, especially as concerning the Super Eagles of Nigeria, where the captain, Truce Ekong, has retired from international. Fans are saying he should be replaced as captain of the team by Victor Osimhen. That will be discussed for another time. But for now, we have to wrap up the program and our sport extraordinaire for this weekend. Kingsley, couldn't have been no other person than Northern Norris, all the way from Abu Dhabi. The last, let's say, Formula One season is getting concluded with Northern Norris of McLaren winning his very first World Championship in Formula One. Did you expect Northern Norris of McLaren to win where we had the likes of Max Verstappen, Kingsley?
Yeah. I was anticipating that. I was really anticipating for London Norris, of course. I knew it was going to be a huge contest in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. But I saw that, optimism, of course, from London Norris, looking at the fact that, of course, he has really done well, of course, with McLaren this season. Winning the title, of course, for the very first time is a very huge achievement for him. I knew it was going to be competitive, but when you take a look at his high level of being optimistic of getting this one, and as well, the McLaren car, I think, of course, it's actually standing a huge chance now at this point in time. For me, I think it's really good. If we could possibly get the competition back at this point in time, it would be a huge one, not as Verstappen, of course, winning all through. I'm really impressed, and I'm happy for London Norris and McLaren for what they've actually done this season in Formula One.
Nolan Norris, champion for the first time for McLaren after nearly 20-something years. The last time we saw a McLaren win was, I think, Hamilton in 2008. And this is another winner for McLaren, and he's winning for the very first time. Nolan Norris, our sports extraordinaire for this weekend. And, of course, bringing the show to an end. We'll be back next weekend with yet another bomber package. Remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.